The leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, whom we call Lil Kim, is upping the tension with the West even more now. Today, state media there reported that country has sentenced a U.S. citizen to 15 years of hard labor for crimes that it will not explain. This is that American. He's a tour guide who lived in Washington State. He's been in a North Korean prison since his arrest last November. North Korea accused him of, quote, hostility toward the government and trying to topple it. But nobody will say what that really means. All we know is he was arrested while giving some businessmen a tour near North Korea's border with China. Human rights advocates in South Korea say he was also interested in helping North Koreans' orphans. They say North Korean officials may have been angry about pictures that the tour guide took of those orphans. Now his sentencing puts the United States in a very difficult position, as one of its citizens faces years of brutal labor, likely in subhuman conditions. Joining us now, former prosecutor Dan Schorr. He specializes in international law. Dan traveled to North Korea, taught law in China, and the Fox Report's chief correspondent, Jonathan Hunt, who's covering the story for us today. He's been there since November?
Been there since November, but only now charged with what they translated as hostile acts. That's interesting, Shep, because it's stronger language than they normally use. Remember the cases of Laura Ling and Yuna Lee, for instance, the two journalists? They were charged with illegally entering the country. Hostile acts takes it up to another level, clearly increases the pressure on the United States here.
Dan, where do you start trying to get him out?
Well, guessing the motivations and goals and plans of the North Korean government have been one of the biggest challenges for decades now. Sometimes they want a reduction in sanctions, sometimes they want a high-profile visit like the one they got from President Clinton, which they could use for propaganda purposes. But this regime for years has been extremely brutal to its people and hard to figure out.
And I'm guessing it's hard to really tackle this legal system, which just says nothing.
Look, there is no rule of law there. Any kind of rule that they cite for this conviction is not legitimate. They are a brutal regime. They close down all freedoms for their people. They summarily condemn people to prison camps and execute people. So it's not like there's an appeal process, a criminal procedure law, the types of things that we have here.
So, Jonathan, what is the United States doing to try to get him out?
Well, they're working all the back channels as they usually do. Now, what you're likely to see, ultimately, this is the game that they play again and again and again. We've seen so many times with President Clinton going there, with President Carter going there in 2010, with Bill Richardson going there. They're looking for a propaganda victory, which means a high-profile American going over there and then saying, we are making a humanitarian gesture by releasing this person. That's the victory they want. They didn't achieve the concessions they wanted with upping the ante militarily. Now they're trying a different tack.
I'm guessing Dennis Rodman's not going to do the trick.
You know, he is the last American that we know of to have contact with the leader in North Korea. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like he'll be very helpful, but something needs to be done here. It needs to be kept separate from the negotiations about the nuclear threat. We can't allow them to get leverage in that negotiation because they've taken an American.
Well, they've made it clear over time that they don't value human life. I mean, look what they do to their own people. I don't know. We have to give up something, I suppose.
Right, and then we have concentration camps, effectively. In 2013, there is a nation in this world that runs concentration camps, and it's the very same nation that pulls us into the same game year after year after year. They are better, according to all the experts, so Dan will agree, they're better at playing it than we are.
You know, I've been to North Korea. It's the most closed-off country in the world. It's a large cult where people are brought up just worshiping the Kims and knowing nothing other than how great they supposedly are and how the West is responsible for all their problems.
Very difficult. Dan, John, thank you.